Hello everyone, and today we're going to be talking about Sky Strikers. This is the deck that we actually just went to Diamond 1 with, so I wanted to show off some of the latest wins that sort of got us from the Diamond 2 up to the Diamond 1 after we struggled so much to hit such a simple milestone on our previous stream. This is the final deck list that we were using at the time. We made a few slight adjustments of this onto our previous Sky Striker video, but it is virtually identical. I think we changed two cards. We took out the Cosmic Cyclones and we put in Jamming Waves and an additional Lightning Storm. Again, Lightning Storm is just the GOAT. I think Lightning Storm's busted in the current meta. Absolutely. So those are the only changes we made. So we're not going to be doing an in-depth deck profile in this video. If you want that, if you want to see card for card everything going on, check the previous video because it's going to go through everything. I just don't want to waste anyone's time who has already seen that video. So basically we're just covering off the latest 4 wins that got us up to Diamond 1. There's some really good matches in here. I really wanted to show them off, especially the last one. A real sort of grind fest, our opponent constantly roadblocking us and us having to break through those roadblocks in the way that Sky Strikers know how. So if you like this type of content, seeing some of these top sort of deck reviews, seeing exactly what makes them tick and what makes them good, as well as some fun decks as well that we'll be posting in the last few days as well. If you've been paying attention to the channel, feel free to subscribe while you're here. You know, it doesn't cost you anything, and it does give me a hand. We are officially now over our 1,000 subscriber goal for January, so you know what? Thank you so much to anyone who has subscribed up until now, and for anyone who is continuing to show their support as we're moving on. I appreciate each and every single one of you, so thank you so much to everyone. Let's see how high we can hit it for here the end of January, now that we're already over our target. And yeah, let's get into game number 1. Alrighty, so getting into game 1. Now this is the final 4 wins of our climb. They're not necessarily in order. I wanted to start with this one because it's a little bit shorter and shows off a little bit of what you sort of want to do with Sky Strikers, as well as the power of some of these big blowout cards. People don't want to be playing Lightning Storm at 3, Droplet at 3, whatever. I think these are clowns. These cards are nuts. So our opponent's playing branded Despia. They're just going through the standard Despian plays. They're going to bring out their Mirror Jade, the Ice Blade Dragon, which is of course a huge threat. Mirror Jade, don't be sleeping on Mirror Jade. It may not be shiny and new anymore, but that card is still busted. He's going to be sending Albion to the graveyard so he can search his deck for the branded in red. This is why Lightning Storm is busted. We're going to force him to use all of his cards right off the bat. So right away, we're going to Lightning Storm. Target the back row. He flips up Dinomorphia Frenzy and then branded in red. So this guy is going at it. He is going balls deep. We're going to have to see exactly what his plan is. Branded in red, grabbing him back Tragedy and allowing him to fusion summon, then using the Ad Libitum and the Tragedy to go into Masquerade the Blazing Dragon. Then Dinomorphia Frenzy is going to send 2 cards from his deck and his extra deck to the graveyard to summon Kentragina. Now, Kentragina has the effect that allows her to pay half of your life points to copy the effect of a Dinomorphia trap in the graveyard, so they're going to copy the effect of Frenzy to fusion summon again, and Ad Libitum is going to revive the Mirror Jade. So looking at this board, we went Lightning Storm and they still have all of this. Their board is now stronger than it ever was. They've got a Banish, they've got Floodgates, they've got attack points, they've got Burn. We're going to go Sky Striker Airspace just to get a card onto our field. We summon Ray. We were basically baiting him into using the Rex term. Luckily he played into it, used his Rex term almost right away. That's when we're going to chain the Forbidden Droplet. Send 3. Negate 3 monsters on the field. He cannot respond with monsters effects or spell effects, so there's nothing he can do about this. All 3 of his big monsters are now negated. And look at his life points. He's got 1,000 life points left. We link 1 in the Hayate. He tries to activate his Mirror Jade, but it is negated. We go Battle Phase, swing directly. Easy game. This is one of the few decks that actually have a positive matchup against Dinomorphia, because it doesn't matter about all their Floodgates and all their crazy things. Hayate is almost always game. Hayate is nuts in this matchup. So yes, that's just one of the specific matchups I wanted to show off. It's not one you see very often. Dinomorphia does not get the respect it deserves. That deck is absolutely crazy, especially since we're shifting into a metagame more dominated by monsters. It wasn't doing so hot because, you know, you had a lot of big control decks. You had Runick and all running around that were sort of terrorizing Dinomorphia a little bit. But now that we're moving into a metagame filled with monsters again, you know, things like Mathmaker resurging, Branded resurging, Sword Soul is now tier 1. So now that we're moving into a metagame filled with all of these powerful monster-based combo decks, Dynamorphia is going to be on the rise as well. Sky Strikers are well equipped for that rise. Fantastic game here for game number 1. Let's get into number 2. Already getting into number 2. Another important thing to note about this deck is because you want to be going second, you're very rarely not going to get what you want. So it looks like we're going up against Runick. Runick does have a positive matchup against Sky Strikers. This is a rough matchup for us because we struggle to find the damage to inflict lethal damage before losing all of our cards, basically. They're going to Runick Fountain here, set to pass. Mono Awado goes back to their hand. Mono Awado, of course, preventing us from using Ash Blossom and Maxi during that turn. But anyway, we do have a few cards. We're going to open up with the Upstart Goblin, top decking into Afterburners. Afterburners isn't the most useful card in this matchup, especially if they're not summoning any monsters. We're going to go Ray and Hayate to attack directly for 3k, so that's a decent start. Considering the Upstart Goblin, they lost 2,000 life points this turn, which is a start to the game. We're going to go Kagiri to try and grab back our Engage. Unfortunately, we do get negated there. But it is what it is, you know, sometimes it just happens. They're banishing cards from the top of our deck, which is a real nightmare. They've banished 2 copies of our Furion to Colosseum. The first card they banished, which was Jamming Waves, and the whole sort of point of this card was to help deal with Runick, so they banished our counter right away. They're going to banish a card off of Cosmic Cyclone as well. Luckily, they hit the Shark Cannon. Then again, Cult by the Grave isn't the most useful card in this matchup either. We're going to grab a Widow Anchor purely because there's not a lot of useful cards left to grab in our deck, but they're going to pop our last remaining face down card. So now it is just Shizuku, and we're running dangerously low on cards as it is already. And we still have to deal 5,000 damage, so this is not looking good for us. We're going to go Terraforming here off the bat. Terraforming grabbing the Furion Disc Colosseum. This Colosseum then is going to grab a Furion Regulus from our deck, or it would if our opponent didn't have Cosmic Cyclone. So Cosmic Cyclone isn't fantastic for us, but at the same time it is whittling away at his own life points. We have to just take what we can out of the situation. We're going to go Hayate. Hayate attack directly to inflict an additional 15. Then Hayate send Ray to Graveyard. So now we're at least protected by having a Ray in Grave. We're going to go Kagiri here. Kagiri is going to grab back the Engage from our Graveyard as well, except it's not because he's got these Skill Drain. So not only is he playing Runick, he's also playing Floodgates. I don't know why he didn't Skill Drain to prevent the Hayate attack, but I guess that's just what he's doing. So here we are. We've got some plays here we can attempt to make. He does destroy our Kagiri here. It is unfortunate that to activate the Ray we had to give up on our opportunity to Ash Blossom the Runick Fountain, but again the Ray sort of trying to keep us alive and keep us in the game is pretty important. We cannot sacrifice momentum at the moment. If we do, then we're going to lose because we don't have enough cards left in our deck to last another couple of turns. So we need to keep as much momentum as possible. We need to keep our finger on the pulse here. They're going to go a second copy of Runick Fountain, then activating their spell card to destroy our last remaining face down card. Yet again, banishing another 4 cards from our deck, drawing 1, and setting it to pass. Now we're going to activate Ray, summon Hayate from our deck. Our plan is just try to get rid of that skill drain. We normal summon the Maxi just to see what our options are, but he pops our last remaining Hayate. That does trigger Ray to come back from the grave though, and it's not as if we don't have any options. It does heavily come down to what our opponent draws here off of their 1 card. So if they draw a 1 card Hail Mary, then fair play to them, but if they don't, then we're going to win this game because we can summon Regulus straight out from our hand. Of course, it doesn't get its equip, but it doesn't need it to beat over an Amano Awada, and now we can go 1500 for game. And being the Runick player that he is, he's too salty and too toxic to even take the final attack, and he scoops. And that's pretty much it. Runick is a very difficult matchup. Luckily our opponent he didn't draw the card he needed. He had a really solid setup the whole way through. The skill drain sort of working in either player's favor. But yeah, I mean, it just is what it is. Sometimes you win them, sometimes you lose them. Luckily in this occasion, we had the gas we needed to win. That's another reason as to why we play Furion, because Furion gives you additional offense and gas in matchups like this, where it's necessary, where you're being out-controlled, if that makes sense. So yeah, that's why another big reason as to why I like Furion Regulus. But anyway, let's get into game number 3. This was actually a promotion match for our opponent. If our opponent beat us here, they were going to find their way up into Diamond 1, which was very cool. We go maxi here right off the bat. We have a pretty solid opening hand here, a pretty brutal opening hand, honestly. They're going to be playing Chicken Game, Metal Fuse Fusion. We don't know yet what they're playing, but they activate Pot of Desires. They're just drawing cards. And now they finally activate Sky Striker Mecha, the multi-roll. This basically means that we're playing the mirror match, and this guy is playing turbo spells in the mirror match. He is banishing all the cards out of his deck, sending a load of cards to graveyard. He's got the Engage. Engage is going to grab him the Widow Anchor from his deck, as well as drawing an extra card. Ray into Kagiri. Kagiri then, of course, trying to add back the Engage from his graveyard, which is phenomenal because he now gets to activate it again and draw again. Really good plays from our opponent here. They're grabbing an additional Widow Anchor here, just setting themselves up with as many negates as they possibly can. They draw into they're using Engage for a third time, +6. Get out of here. They grab the Linkage from the deck, Metal Fuse Fusion, and letting them draw an extra card again. Now, what are you seeing in our hand that is going to turn this matchup around? It's Lightning Storm, baby. That's just it. Like, what are you going to do about it? He's going to go Sky Striker, Mobilize, Linkage here, just trying to utilize his background while he can, getting rid of the Kagiri to summon a Shizuku. He might as well. The Shizuku might give him some momentum in the end phase. He summons Rose from his hand because he can, just trying to keep himself alive. We're going to go Engage and chain Linkage to the Engage. We don't have a Ray in hand, so we're going to use the Linkage to get some gas going here with the Hayate. We've got the Shark Cannon now in hand. We wanted to use the Shark Cannon to banish his Ray so that it doesn't recur later on as we're playing. We're going to go Widow Anchor here to steal the Shizuku, then link 2 into Zeke. Zeke's going to banish the Rose from the field because Rose has a pretty interesting effect that may be able to sort of inflict some damage to us. We're going to go Kagiri. Kagiri's going to add back the Engage from our graveyard. Unfortunately, we do get hit with the Effect Veiler, so ironically, even after such a massive Lightning Storm from us, because our opponent was able to generate so much card advantage on their first turn, it is actually evened out quite nicely. We're not even that far ahead. We're going to use our Fury on King Regulus here, summon it out to the field by equipping on Zeke. We're going to go Battle, 28 and 15 to the face, putting on as much pressure as we possibly can, and then passing back to our opponent here. Of course, Shizuku grabbing the Afterburners from our deck for just some additional follow-up. We want to make sure we've got some power. With both Gemming Waves and Afterburners, it's unlikely he'll be able to set up something that we can't break. He's going to go Metal Fuse Fusion yet again, bounce back to draw a card. He goes all in on this Desires. He's got 5 cards left in his deck. We decide we're going to use Fury on now to negate that Pot of Desires. That's too much value. With so few cards left in his deck, we really need to sort of control the flow of this game going forward. He's going to go Ray into Kagiri. Kagiri's going to grab a card back from his graveyard. He grabs back Widow Anchor, rightfully knowing there's nothing left in his deck he can engage for. He's going to go multi-roll yet again, setting the Widow Anchor, which means he's going to be able to recycle some of the cards in his graveyard, which is a fantastic play. Shizuku comes out at the end phase, but again, he has no searches, so it doesn't do anything for him. And Rose makes its way back to the field as well. Looks like we've got plenty of cards to pop here for targets, destroying the Sec card as well as his Shizuku. Ray makes her way back to the field, but that's just fine because we've got Afterburners to clean up the Rose and the multi-roll, meaning his only monster remaining is in fact the Ray. So we're going to go Fury on King Regulus here, hoping to prevent him from utilizing his effects as efficiently as he would want to. He does time it right, basically, summoning out a Shizuku here, which is going to passively reduce the attack points of our Regulus by quite a significant margin, but it is boosted up to 22 by having the additional Regulus in the graveyard. So yes, it's all down to this. What can our opponent possibly top deck in a deck of 4 cards? The answer is nothing, and he scoops it up. Very, very unfortunate matchup for our opponent. They went hard turbo into that Sky Striker engine, playing spell after spell after spell, drawing card after card after card, really thinned their own deck out, and in the end it did cost them in the long run. Regulus coming out, securing us the win in an otherwise uncertain matchup, and yeah, you'll love to see it. I mean, there's nothing else really to say. Fantastic game, both sides. Unfortunate our opponent didn't get their rank up. You never like seeing the mirror match and knocking them down, you know. Always feel a little bit bad for them, but I mean, you gotta win, you know. You can't just be throwing games for no reason. But anyway, that is it for game number 4. Let's get into the final game of the climb. This was our last win, and it was a real scrap, so let's get into that. Alrighty, getting into our fourth and final game. This was our last match to rank up to Diamond 1. Our opponent's going to go Lord of Heavenly Prison, set 4 pass. Now this does not give us any indications as to what our opponent could possibly be playing, but they have the one card that counters the GOAT, the Lightning Storm. We cannot destroy his face down cards, which is very unfortunate. We're going to go Upstart Goblin, drawing into the Engage, which is a phenomenal draw. We got the Reinforcements of the Army to grab Ray as well. We're going to go Sky Striker Mobilize here. We also go Hornet Drones just because we sort of want to kickstart our plays a little bit. There was no real reason to chain it. It doesn't make a difference. Rivalry of Warlords though comes out, and that stops us dead on our tracks. Rivalry, this is, as soon as he flipped Rivalry, I thought to myself, that's game over. We've lost. There's no way. But we decided to stick it out. We decided to play it out just to see what we could possibly do. Out comes Eldlich the Golden Lord. It is an Eldlich matchup. So ultimately, we're in a position where, again, Eldlich isn't meta anymore. They're not all that scary by themselves, but we're in a really detrimental situation where we can't play our deck. Rivalry of Warlords stops us dead, so we need to get ourselves in a stronger position here. Our opponent knows rightly what position we're in. They don't actually even attack our token. They want to make sure we've got a face-up card in the field so that we cannot act under Rivalry. He's waiting until he has game. Very smart plays from our opponent there. But listen, we're not just going to sit back and take this. We're going to switch our token to attack mode. If he's not going to take it out, we're going to take it out ourselves here, taking the 25 to the face. So now we can use Lightning Storm. The Lord of Heavenly Prisons only protects set cards. That means your face-up Rivalry can be wiped out just fine, which means it opens up the game to us to now start playing. He's going to send Haquero from deck to graveyard. It's going to give him some searches. We're going to go Furion to Coliseum, grabbing Regulus from the deck before summoning out our Ray to go into Kagiri. We want the Kagiri to grab us the Engage so we can use our jamming waves before we even get started. Our opponent's going to go Haquero to try and banish our Engage, so we're going to very quickly use Widow Anchor to negate and steal his Golden Lord so that he cannot utilize its effect to banish. So we still get our Engage, but we cannot use it so long as we have another monster in our main monster zone. And to make sure that we can't get rid of his Golden Lord, our opponent's going to play Summon Limit, which means we cannot link it off into Zeke, which was our initial plan. His Lord of Heavenly Prisons is too big to get over as well, so we gain 0 advantage over having this Eldlich, and we have to give it back to our opponent. Yet another big play from our opponent there, really shutting us down. He's making it very difficult for us to gain ground in this matchup. He's going to go Extravagance, utilizing his Golden Lord to try and get rid of our face down. Thankfully, we had Call by the Grave to try and stop that. He does have the Golden Lamp Forever to negate the Call by the Grave, but at the very least, we're eating up an extra card. I'll take that any day of the week. That's just fine with me. Not perfect, not exactly the way we wanted it to go, but it happened, and it's not exactly terrible for us. He's going to use a second Lord of Heavenly Prisons. He's going to use the Golden Lord, sending Summon Limit from deck to grave. This guy is getting ready to win this game. He's summoning out his 4 biggest monsters. The Eldlich the Golden Lord at 3,500. Eldlich the Golden Lord at 25, and then the 2 Lord of Heavenly Prisons of 3,000 attack each. All he needs to do is inflict 5,500 points of damage. It should be easy, right? Except the Coliseum is going to protect our Kagiri from destruction, sending Regulus from deck to grave. Then his Lord of Heavenly Prisons is going to wipe out Kagiri, triggering the effects of both the Disc Coliseum and the Ray that are in our graveyard. Disc Coliseum adding back the Regulus we just sent to the grave, and Ray then resummoning itself back to the field. Ray then on the field is going to tribute itself to summon out Kiana. Kiana is going to target his remaining Heavenly Prison Lord and stop it from attacking this turn, which means we survive with 2,200 life points. We're still in this game. If we have life points, we're still in it, but we have to inflict 8,200 points of damage to our opponent. So it's going to be an uphill battle. We really need to get playing here. What we're going to be doing is opening up our turn with Engage. We really wanted to get some momentum here. We top deck into the Lightning Storm. So in order to make the Lightning Storm live, we set the Disc Coliseum in our hand to replace the one we have face up on the field. And then we're going to wipe out all of his attack position monsters except for, of course, the indestructible Golden Lord. Our Regulus, then we're going to activate Regulus to summon itself out the field, chaining the Widow Anchor while we still have a monster on board. Our opponent was very smart here. If he didn't activate this card right now, this second, he was going to instantly lose this game because we would have had Regulus, his Golden Lord, as well as the ability to summon Ray into Kagiri, which would have been lethal damage. If he tried to use the Scarlet Sanguine, we would have negated it with Regulus. This was our opponent's last chance to use this card. They saw it, they were smart, and they used it. So they are going to try and buy themselves an extra turn. That's just fine. Our opponent's playing very, very well. They do summon out a second Golden Lord as a wall of defense, but we steal their big one. We still bring out our Regulus, which is going to be a 2800 beater with a negate built in, and we're going to summon Ray. Golden Lord takes out the Golden Lord, 2800 to the face off of our Regulus and 15 off of Ray. Then we're going to activate Ray's effect to summon out the Kagiri here. We wanted to go for Kagiri because it's more damage and we already have an Engage Engrave. So we're just going to grab back the Engage, which of course cannot be used so long as we have a monster in the main monster zone. So at this stage it doesn't really matter too much, but we wanted to set up our opponent there, if you look at the life points, at exactly 1500. That is very, very important. We're going to Zeke away his Eldlich the Golden Lord before summoning Shizuku, flipping up our Fury onto Coliseum so we've got some battle protection. We decide to use one of our negates in the end phase here to stop the Haquero from searching his deck for an additional Eldlich card. The more we can slow this guy down, the better. And we're going to finally finish off our turn by searching for Shark Cannon, which is going to be a big part of our follow-up once it gets to our next turn. Our opponent, unfortunately, has the Lava Golem. I don't know what to tell you. He just has everything. He's simply the best player. He sets 2 and passes. Lava Golem, for those who are uninitiated, during the standby phase inflicts 1000 damage to its controller. We only have 1200 life points left. We can't be messing around with this. And we know he has the Haquero set, which he's going to use to defend himself. So at the minute, it just looks like he's going to be sitting on his... he's forcing us to sit on the Lava Golem because all of our Sky Striker cards cannot be used so long as we have a monster in the main monster zone. So we're in a lot of trouble here. This Lava Golem is really putting a hurt on us. We need to find a way to get rid of this card. It really ultimately is coming down to the card we pull off the top of the deck. If we don't pull a good one up, we literally just lose this game instantaneously. He's relying on a 3800k 3800 defensive beater there with his Golden Lord, and it is ultimately the card we pick up off the top of the deck that matters here. And luckily for us, it is Area 0. That means that we can use Area 0's effect here. He is going to quickly flip up the continuous trap card Mistake, which prevents us from adding cards from deck to hand, but the adding of the card from deck to hand off of airspace is optional. It's only if you hit one, meaning it's not mandatory resolution, meaning we can still activate its effect to send our Lava Golem to the graveyard to check the top 3 cards of the deck. That's what that does. Luckily we hit Hamp there, which triggers the Lava Golem to be sent. Now we can use Linkage, ditch the field spell, summon Hayate. Field spell will summon out Rose just in case. Hayate for game. What an absolute back and forth mess from our opponent there. He really forced us to fight for that win, that final win to get into Diamond 1. He made us fight for it. And honestly, it was an amazing matchup. It really was. Very well played from our opponent there. Haven't seen Eldlich in quite a long time. It's interesting to sort of see them again after them having died out of the metagame so long ago. So yeah, it's nice to see they still got their relevance. Nice to see they're as toxic as ever. And yeah, they were the original Runick for anyone who's new to Master Duel. But yes, that is the 4 games that got us in the Diamond 1. Like I said, we're not doing a deck profile because I literally just did one, which was what, 2 days ago at the time of me posting this, which is going to be a couple of days after recording it. So like, yeah, if you want to see the deck profile, check our previous video. It's literally right there, and it goes through card for card, every single card and effect, why it's there, what it does, to its relatives are. It goes through everything. So yes, I'm going to leave us all there. If you like this sort of gameplay, if you want to see anything more like this, any more in-depth profiles like you're seeing in the previous videos, like our old Sky Striker video from a couple of days ago, feel free to subscribe while you're here. If you've gotten this far, you might as well. Why not? If you're this far into the video, you might as well if you haven't already. And if you have gotten this far, why not leave a wee like? Obviously you liked it if you got here. And with that, I will see you all in the next one. Bye bye.